The invasion begins. The sky darkened with the arrival of something that no one on Earth could have ever imagined. At first, the stars were the only things visible, twinkling peacefully in the night. But then, one by one, enormous ships appeared, blotting out the stars. They were massive, their metallic bodies reflecting the dim light from the distant sun. Each ship seemed like a city, floating silently above Earth's atmosphere. They were the ships of the HFYians, an alien race that had conquered countless planets in their galaxy. Humans had been aware of the approaching threat for months, but seeing it in person, with their own eyes, felt like a nightmare come to life. Panic spread through the global population like wildfire. In every corner of the world, cities prepared for the worst. Governments went into full emergency mode, and military units were placed on high alert. The sound of sirens filled the air as soldiers, civilians, and scientists alike tried to figure out what could be done to stop the inevitable. The HFYians had come with a single goal in mind: to conquer Earth. They believed humans were weak, divided, and unworthy of the resources the planet had to offer. They had studied Earth's history, watched its wars, and calculated that humans would never be able to defend themselves against a force as powerful as theirs. The aliens had no doubt that Earth's forces would crumble under the weight of their advanced technology. But what the HFYians didn't know was that humanity, despite all its flaws, had a strength they had never seen before, a strength that no amount of superior technology could predict. And this was the moment when the world would discover just how strong humans could be. In a small command center hidden deep within a mountain, a group of the brightest minds on Earth gathered. Among them was Captain Amelia Stone, a military leader with a reputation for her sharp mind and unwavering courage. She was calm, even as the world around her shook with fear. She had led her troops through countless missions, but this was different. This was an invasion of unimaginable scale, and the enemy had more power than any human force could hope to match. Yet, Captain Stone wasn't ready to give up. "We may be outnumbered and outgunned," she said, her voice steady, "but we are not out of options. We may not have their weapons, but we have something they don't: our will to fight." Her words struck a chord with everyone in the room. They had no choice but to believe in her. The room was filled with experts from every field: scientists, engineers, military strategists, and analysts. Together, they had one goal: to find a way to stop the invasion. Earth's defenses weren't powerful enough to challenge the HFYian fleet directly, but perhaps they could outsmart them. "Let's start by analyzing their technology," Captain Stone instructed. "If we can understand their weapons and their ships, we may be able to find a weakness." While the Earth's top minds worked tirelessly to uncover any vulnerabilities in the alien technology, the HFYian ships loomed overhead. The people of Earth could see them now. Enormous, dark ships with glowing red lights that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. It felt like the end of everything, and yet a sense of determination began to grow among humans. The HFYians were not just invading. They were mocking Earth's strength. They knew humans would cower in fear and surrender. The aliens believed that their advanced weaponry, far superior to anything Earth had ever seen, would break the human spirit. They didn't realize that humanity's strength lay not in weapons or technology, but in its unbreakable will to survive. Days passed as the alien ships continued their silent orbit above Earth. From the ground, humans watched in fear, unsure of what would happen next. News reports flooded in from every corner of the world, showing images of the alien fleet, but also showing humans banding together. There were protests, there were cries of fear, but there was also a growing sense of unity. People knew that they had no choice but to fight back. In the command center, a small team of scientists finally made a breakthrough. They discovered that the HFYian ships communicated using a complex encrypted signal. This was their first real lead. It wasn't much, but it was enough. If Earth's engineers could crack the encryption, they could possibly send a signal to confuse or even disable the alien ships. It wasn't a solution, but it was a chance. As the humans worked to decode the signal, Captain Stone continued to coordinate the global defense efforts. Nations that had once been at odds with each other were now working together. The fear of the aliens had united humanity in a way that nothing else ever had. People began to see that their survival depended on their ability to come together, and slowly, the hope that seemed lost began to return. Meanwhile, the Exvorians were growing impatient. They had expected to conquer Earth quickly and easily. Their ships hovered above, waiting for the moment to strike. They were confident that it was only a matter of time before Earth's leaders surrendered. But what they didn't know was that the humans, despite their weakness in comparison to alien technology, were not about to give up without a fight. The stage was set. The invaders were ready to strike, but Earth had already begun to fight back in its own way. It was just a matter of time before the Exvorians would learn the hard truth. Humans were not as weak as they thought. They had underestimated the power of Earth's defenders, and soon they would regret it. As the first signs of Earth's counterattack began to take shape, a deep sense of determination filled the air. The countdown to the most important battle humanity had ever faced had begun. The aliens might have expected weakness, but they were about to discover something far more dangerous: humanity's unyielding strength. The Exvorian ships loomed even closer, casting long, dark shadows over the world below. Their presence in the sky was both magnificent and terrifying. They were so vast, so powerful, that it seemed impossible for anything on Earth to even pose a challenge. From every corner of the globe, people looked up, some in awe, others in terror. The first strike was imminent, and many feared it would be the end. But as the minutes passed, an unexpected sense of unity began to spread across the planet. Despite the overwhelming odds, humans were not backing down. Governments that had once struggled to cooperate were now finding common ground. The desire to survive, to protect their families and their homes, united humanity like never before. In military command centers around the world, leaders were working together in ways they never had before. Captain Amelia Stone stood at the front of one such center, directing the flow of information and decisions with calm precision. She had seen the enemy's ships with her own eyes, and she knew the only chance they had was to outthink the Exvorians. They couldn't win by strength alone. They would need to be smart, creative, and relentless. "We've made progress on decoding their communication signals," one of the lead engineers said. "It's complicated, but we're getting closer. If we can disrupt their control system even for a few seconds, it could give us the edge we need." Captain Stone nodded. Every second counted. "Keep going," she said firmly. "We need this to work. We don't have the luxury of time." Around her, people were working tirelessly, each person playing their part in the fight for humanity's survival. Soldiers and scientists, engineers and strategists, all working together with the single goal of driving back the alien invasion. They had no choice but to fight back with everything they had. The Exvorians might have had superior technology, but Earth had something that the aliens could never understand: the heart and spirit of its people. While the humans worked on their plan, the Exvorians watched from their ships, unaware of what was unfolding beneath them. To the aliens, humanity seemed like a primitive species, divided, disorganized, and weak. They had expected Earth to fold under the pressure of their superior force. But as the days passed, the Exvorians began to notice something strange. Despite their overwhelming power, the humans weren't giving up. They were organizing, they were fighting back, and they were determined to survive. In the skies, the first signs of retaliation began to show. Earth's air forces, though limited in comparison to the alien fleet, launched their first wave of attacks. Fighter jets streaked across the sky, firing missiles at the Exvorian ships. The missiles exploded harmlessly against the alien vessels' shields, but it wasn't about the missiles themselves. It was about the message they sent. Earth wasn't going down without a fight. Captain Stone watched as the reports came in. The alien ships were massive, but they were not invincible. Every military branch around the world was working together now, using every available resource to find ways to strike back. Some of the greatest minds on Earth were focusing their efforts on sabotaging the alien technology, looking for weak spots in the invaders' defenses. The humans might have been outmatched, but they were not outsmarted. "I want a full report on the damage we've caused," Captain Stone ordered, pacing in front of a digital display that showed the positions of the Xvorian ships above Earth. "Let's see if we can't exploit their weaknesses." As she looked at the information coming in, one thing became clear. The alien ships were highly advanced, but they weren't perfect. There were cracks in their systems, small vulnerabilities that humans had already begun to exploit. They were focusing on taking out the Xvorian communication arrays, the key to their coordination. If Earth could disrupt the enemy's communication, it could cause confusion and delay in their attack. But time was running out. The Xvorians had grown impatient. Their fleet began to move closer to Earth's surface, preparing for the invasion to begin in full force. The people of Earth watched in silent terror, knowing that the moment of reckoning was near. The countdown to the end had begun, but humanity had refused to lie down. In cities across the world, people were gathering in shelters, trying to remain calm as the sky above darkened. Children clutched their parents' hands, their eyes wide with fear. The elderly, once strong and proud, now seemed frail, their age showing in the face of such a terrifying event. And yet, despite the fear that gripped them all, there was something else. A fire had been lit within humanity. It was the fire of survival, of resistance. People had come together in a way that hadn't been seen in centuries. The fight wasn't over yet, but Earth's people had made one thing clear. They were not going down without a fight. The humans had come together as a single force, and they were ready to stand their ground. As Captain Stone looked out over the command center, she felt a sense of hope rising in her chest. She had seen the strength of humanity before, in wars and battles, but this was different. This wasn't just a war between two armies. It was a fight for the very survival of Earth. The aliens might have thought they could crush humanity with ease, but they had underestimated one thing: the will of the people of Earth. "Prepare for the next phase," Captain Stone ordered, her voice full of resolve. "We may be outmatched, but we will fight with everything we have. We are not just defending a planet, we are defending our future." As the first of the Xvorian ships began their descent toward Earth, humanity stood ready. The fight for survival had only just begun. The Xvorian ships hovered ominously above Earth, their colossal size blocking out the sun in some areas. The calm of the Earth's skies had turned into chaos, with air sirens wailing and military jets constantly flying overhead. For the first time in human history, people understood what it was like to face an invader that seemed almost unstoppable. The world was now at war, and Earth's survival depended on humanity's ability to fight back. But for the first time, humanity's united efforts were beginning to show signs of hope. The Xvorians had underestimated Earth's resilience. They had believed that, being technologically advanced, they could crush the planet and its inhabitants effortlessly. They thought humans were primitive, weak, and divided. However, this perception was about to change. In underground bunkers and military bases, the first reports came in. The humans had managed to cause minor damage to the invaders' technology. Their missiles, though ineffective against the Xvorian ship shields, had done something unexpected. They had disrupted the alien communications temporarily. This small breakthrough was a significant victory in a fight that had just begun. "It's not much, but it's a start," Captain Amelia Stone muttered under her breath as she stared at the data streaming in front of her. "If we can keep hitting them in the right spots, we might have a chance." In every corner of Earth, the resistance had begun. While the alien fleet was vast and seemed all-powerful, the humans had begun to see weaknesses in their foes. The Xvorians might have superior technology, but the humans had something far more valuable: a never-give-up attitude and the sheer will to survive. People who had never been involved in military efforts before were now learning how to fight. civilians and soldiers alike joined forces, developing new strategies. Earth's engineers worked tirelessly to reverse engineer alien technology, learning how to adapt human-made weapons to be more effective against the invaders. Weapons, once outdated and rusting in military arsenals, were now being brought back into service. Old fighter jets were upgraded with new technology, and new systems of communication were implemented to avoid Xvorian interference. The world's nations, once divided by borders and politics, found themselves united in the face of a common enemy. Even nations that had long been at odds shared intelligence, resources, and military support. Earth's population, no longer divided, was now one singular force, determined to fight back against the invading aliens. Captain Stone knew this wasn't just about winning a war. This was about proving that humans were not weak. The aliens might have thought Earth would be easy prey, but humanity had one thing that the invaders could never comprehend: determination. Meanwhile, the alien fleet had not been idle. They had already begun their ground invasion, sending waves of armored troops to Earth's surface. These creatures, towering and powerful, seemed invincible at first glance. But Earth's forces had prepared for this moment. The moment they would have to defend their cities, their homes, and their future. The Xvorian soldiers, with their advanced weapons and technology, stormed through cities, terrorizing civilians. They crushed resistance with ease, advancing further into Earth's territory. But Earth's armies were prepared. They had set traps. The humans had lured the alien forces into well-planned ambushes, and while they couldn't defeat the alien warriors outright, they were making them bleed. Across the globe, the fight for Earth's survival raged on. In Europe, humans had managed to deploy EMP, electromagnetic pulse, weapons to disable the alien soldiers' weapons for a few crucial moments. In Africa, Earth's military engineers had rigged the terrain with explosives, creating giant craters that slowed down the alien advance. Every strategy and tactic was designed to weaken the invaders, little by little. But it wasn't just the military doing its part. Civilians had become soldiers, taking up arms, defending their homes and families. People in small towns, once unaware of the true dangers lurking in the universe, now found themselves on the front lines of a battle for survival. Some used makeshift weapons, others fought with nothing more than their sheer willpower. One by one, the Xvorians began to realize that Earth was not the weak planet they had assumed. The invaders began to face setbacks that they hadn't anticipated. And as they did, fear crept into the hearts of the alien commanders. While the Xvorians were focused on Earth's military forces, a new force was rising: human ingenuity. As the battle raged on, Earth's best minds were working around the clock to create weapons that could take down the alien ships. The United States, Russia, China, and several other countries collaborated on creating a new weapon, a super-powered ion cannon capable of piercing the alien ship shields. This weapon wasn't ready for immediate use, but humanity was getting closer. Back in the command center, Captain Stone received a call that would change the course of the war. A young scientist had managed to successfully hack into one of the Xvorian ships. The scientist had discovered a major flaw in the ship's design, something that could be used to disable it. If they could disrupt the Xvorian ship's power source, they would lose their immense advantage. "We have a chance," Stone said to herself, her voice firm with determination. She knew they had to act quickly, before the Xvorians realized their weakness. This is our moment. Earth's forces were more determined than ever, and they were getting closer to a breakthrough. The tide of war was slowly starting to turn, and the Xvorians began to realize they had underestimated humanity's power. The Earth that had once seemed weak, divided, and vulnerable was now fighting back with everything it had. Humanity was no longer an afterthought in the galaxy. The Xvorians' invasion had awakened something within Earth's people, a fighting spirit that would not be easily defeated. Earth wasn't just a victim anymore. It was rising, ready to make its mark on the galaxy. And soon, the Xvorians would learn the hardest lesson of all. never underestimate humanity. The war was no longer just a one-sided conflict. Earth's forces had gained momentum, and the invaders were beginning to feel the pressure. The ex-Vorian fleet, once so confident in their dominance, were now realizing that they had gravely underestimated humanity. The first signs of uncertainty spread among their ranks, but the invaders were determined to crush the rebellion quickly before Earth's newfound strength could fully rise. Captain Amelia Stone stood in the command center, watching the real-time updates on the screens. The previously overwhelming force of ex-Vorian ships was now losing ground. Their ships, once invulnerable, were slowly being taken down one by one. The Earth's newly developed ion cannon had proven far more effective than anticipated. Each strike against the alien ships caused significant damage, ripping through their shields and weakening their structures. But it wasn't just the new technology that was making a difference. It was the unity of humanity. The entire planet had come together in a way that no one thought possible. Once divided by politics, borders, and conflicts, the people of Earth were now fighting as one. This unity gave them strength that no amount of alien technology could destroy. On the surface, the battles raged across continents. In Europe, pockets of resistance had formed, and the alien forces were struggling to hold their ground. In Africa, guerrilla tactics were proving successful, with the local fighters using their knowledge of the terrain to ambush and confuse the alien soldiers. Even in the cities, where the ex-Vorians had expected easy conquest, they were finding that the human spirit could not be so easily crushed. Ordinary civilians had risen to the occasion, creating makeshift weapons, using their environment to their advantage, and fighting with everything they had. But while Earth's military and civilians fought bravely, the ex-Vorians were far from defeated. They had brought reinforcements, and the war was escalating rapidly. Alien ships poured down from space, a flood of metal and fire, landing in waves to reinforce their forces on the ground. The Earth's forces were spread thin, and while they had gained victories, the ex-Vorian strength remained overwhelming. In a secret military base in the Arctic, Earth's top scientists and engineers were working around the clock. Dr. Sarah Montgomery, one of the brightest minds on Earth, had discovered the key to the ex-Vorians' advantage. Their shields were powerful, but they had a fatal flaw. The shields relied on a central power source, a core located deep within the ships. If they could target and disable this core, the shields would fail, and the ships would be vulnerable. "We've got one shot at this," Dr. Montgomery said to her team, her face determined. "If we can pinpoint the location of the power core and disable it, the ex-Vorian fleet will be exposed. The tide of the war will turn in our favor." Captain Stone had no choice but to put all her faith in the team of scientists. Earth's survival depended on this breakthrough. The only problem was that the ex-Vorians had grown aware of the human strategy and were now protecting their power cores with greater intensity. Earth's forces were getting closer, but the aliens were adapting fast. The window of opportunity was closing, and humanity's war was on the edge of a knife. As Earth's military pushed forward, they discovered that the ex-Vorians were not just focused on the war on Earth. They were preparing for something much worse. The ex-Vorian leaders had begun activating a planetary destruction weapon, a doomsday device that could wipe out Earth's entire population with one blow. This weapon had been hidden for centuries, and now the aliens were preparing to unleash it. The countdown to detonation was already in progress. The threat was more immediate than ever before. Captain Stone knew they had only a matter of hours before the ex-Vorians would annihilate everything. Earth had to act fast. The moment of truth came when a strike team of elite soldiers, led by Captain Stone herself, was sent to disable the alien weapon. The team infiltrated one of the heavily guarded ex-Vorian command centers in the ruins of a once beautiful city. The ex-Vorians had set up an imposing fortress to control the weapon, but they had not accounted for Earth's ingenuity. Stone's team fought through alien defenses with precision and determination. The team had trained for months, preparing for this mission. They had memorized every alien weapon and technology they might encounter. The battle inside the fortress was fierce, but it was clear that humanity's fighting spirit was stronger than ever before. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Stone and her team reached the heart of the alien facility. There at the center was the Doomsday Weapon, a massive glowing orb of destructive energy. Its countdown timer blinked ominously. One chance, Stone whispered to herself as she prepared to set the explosives. She could feel the weight of the moment. If they failed, Earth was finished. With seconds to spare, the explosives were set, and the team made their escape. The countdown reached 0, and the Doomsday Weapon exploded in a blinding flash of light. The alien facility was reduced to rubble, and the Doomsday threat was no more. But the victory was bittersweet. The Exvorians still had vast numbers of ships in orbit, and they were not going to give up without a fight. But now, humanity had the upper hand. The Exvorians had seen what Earth was capable of, and the consequences of underestimating humanity would haunt them forever. As Captain Stone looked up at the sky, she knew the war was far from over. The Exvorians would not surrender easily, but Earth had shown its strength. For the first time in history, humanity was not just defending its planet, it was fighting for its place in the universe. And the Exvorians would soon learn that Earth would never back down again. The tide had turned, and now it was time for the aliens to learn what it meant to face the fury of humanity. The war had escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Earth's forces had dealt heavy blows to the Exvorian invaders, but the cost had been immense. Major cities had been reduced to rubble, millions had died in the brutal conflicts, and the once pristine landscape of Earth was scared by war. Yet the Exvorian Empire, though shaken, refused to surrender. They were determined to finish what they had started. Captain Amelia Stone and her remaining forces stood at the edge of Earth's defense, looking out at the stars. The Exvorian fleet had regrouped after the destruction of their Doomsday Weapon. Now they were ready for a final, decisive battle. The last of the human resistance had formed a defense at the last remaining strongholds, all of which were within range of the alien fleet. Earth's survival depended on this final confrontation. As Stone stood on the bridge of the human warship Hope, she gazed at the vast expanse of the galaxy. Every part of Earth had been mobilized. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and civilians all worked together, developing new technologies, weapons, and strategies that would be used to turn the tide. Humanity's most advanced fighter jets had been improved, their armor reinforced, and their weapons enhanced with alien technology they had salvaged. Earth's forces now had the upper hand, but the Exvorians had not given up, and their ships still outnumbered humanity's. The fight was going to be fierce. "We're not backing down, Amelia," Commander Rachel Jones said, her voice steady as she looked over the strategic maps. "This is the final push. We can do this. We just have to hit them where it hurts most." Stone nodded, her eyes sharp and focused. "We'll push them back to the edge of the galaxy. No more waiting for reinforcements. No more hiding. This is our moment." The battle was about to begin. The Exvorian fleet, a dark mass of battlecruisers and destroyers, loomed ahead. They were massive ships, their sleek, advanced designs still an intimidating sight. But Stone and her crew had no fear. They had seen the strength of the human spirit, and now it would be tested like never before. "All hands to battle stations," Stone's voice echoed through the ship. "Prepare for combat." With a flash, the first wave of human ships launched from their hangars, streaking through space towards the alien armada. The battle had begun. In the depths of space, the two fleets collided. Laser beams and missiles lit up the dark void, weaving through the starry sky like a deadly dance. Earth's forces, though smaller, fought with a ferocity the Exvorians had never encountered before. Each ship, each pilot, knew what was at stake. There was no turning back. The stakes had never been higher. Stone's ship, Hope, led the charge. It moved with precision, a testament to the human ingenuity and strategy that had been honed over the past year. The crew worked together seamlessly, fighting as one. Every hit was returned with a vengeance. Every alien ship destroyed was a victory for Earth. But the X-Vorians were not easy opponents. Their ships were well-equipped and ruthless in battle. They fought with the cold, calculating precision that had brought them to the edges of the galaxy. The battle raged on for hours, the human fleet making significant headway, but the X-Vorians were relentless. As Stone watched the war unfold on the viewscreen, she knew that they had to do something drastic to win. The Earth forces had to break through the heart of the alien fleet and destroy their command center, the one place where the X-Vorian leadership remained, planning their next moves. A daring plan began to take shape. If the human forces could penetrate the enemy's defenses, they could strike at the very core of the X-Vorian war effort. But it would be a dangerous mission, one that would require the bravest soldiers to venture into the heart of enemy lines. "We need a diversion," Captain Stone said, turning to her command team. "Something that will draw their attention away from our strike team." Rachel Jones stepped forward. "Leave that to us. We'll create the distraction." Stone's face tightened with resolve. "Then let's move. Earth's future is in our hands." The diversion was set into motion. A small, agile squadron of Earth's fastest ships launched themselves into the heart of the X-Vorian fleet. The alien forces, thinking this was the main assault, focused all their energy on destroying the small group of ships, not realizing that the real strike was coming from the other direction. The strike team, led by Captain Stone herself, infiltrated the X-Vorian fleet, using the chaos created by the diversion to slip through the defenses unnoticed. As they neared the center of the fleet, they spotted the alien command ship, a massive vessel surrounded by a thick shield. It was the brain of the entire operation, and if they destroyed it, they could cripple the entire X-Vorian fleet. "Target locked," Stone said, her voice steady but filled with tension. "Prepare for impact." With a calculated precision, the strike team fired their weapons. The shields around the command ship flickered, struggling to withstand the barrage of firepower. But it wasn't enough. The ship was powerful, but humanity's resolve was stronger. As the final blows were delivered, the X-Vorian command ship exploded in a brilliant burst of light, sending shockwaves through the fleet. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze in time. Then, like a chain reaction, the rest of the X-Vorian fleet began to fall apart. The loss of their command structure was catastrophic. Their ships lost coordination, and one by one, they were picked off by Earth's forces. The victory was hard-fought, but it was theirs. The X-Vorian fleet, broken and leaderless, began retreating into the depths of space, their power shattered by humanity's relentless will to survive. Captain Stone watched the retreating ships, her heart heavy with the weight of the sacrifices that had been made. The war was over. Earth had won. But the cost had been great. So many lives had been lost, and the scars of war would take time to heal. But as Stone stood there, looking at the stars, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had proven its strength. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. The galaxy would never again underestimate Earth, and the name of humanity would be forever etched into the annals of history as the civilization that defied the odds, faced down an empire, and won. Earth had proven that no matter how powerful the enemy, there was one force more powerful than anything else: the indomitable spirit of humanity.